Our comments have exploded through the roof. So there you go.
Good afternoon, Lancaster. It is Monday, March 30th, 2 o'clock. You know what that means. That is Lancaster Connects time. Here live from the Gardner's Mattress and More studio in beautiful Lancaster, PA. And my guests, Jeff Swinehart.
Hello, hello.
And Amy Baumann.
Hey.
Did I say that correctly?
You did. You nailed
it. I should have checked pre-show. I did not. My apologies. Jeff and Amy are representing the Lancaster Farmland Trust. I think we're going to talk about Lancaster County a lot today.
I believe
we're going to connect the dots on a lot of different things here. I'm excited to jump into our conversation. Just a couple things. As you know, Jeff is not here. This Jeff is here.
I'm here.
He's filling in for our Jeff in Jeff's seat. Jeff's wife, Steph, had a hip procedure today. I haven't gotten an update yet. Hopefully she's doing well and the procedure was a success and that she has a quick recovery. Jeff is taking the week off here to be with her and take care of her. So thoughts and prayers to Jeff and his family and Steph as they're going through this procedure and recovery. So glad to have our guests here. Again, we're going to talk about Lancaster Farmland Trust today. Lancaster Connects is a show where we have great conversations with amazing people doing wonderful things in the Lancaster community. And Lancaster Farmland Trust is, definitely fits that category of conversation. So we're actually, stay tuned because we're going to talk about something that just went viral related to their organization and, a Lancaster County story here, or nearby Lancaster County story that just went viral. So we're going to have that conversation and, again, talk about all the great things that they're doing right here in the Lancaster community. One order of business, as you know, from watching Lancaster Connects week over week, we have our guests spin a wheel for discounts and bonuses, let's say bonus gifts for our Lancaster Connects listeners and watchers. There's a number of different things on there. Again, freebies. We do donations. If somebody comes in and makes a purchase, donations to local organizations. Maybe it's a discount on a mattress. Again, Gardner's Mattress and More is the producer of Lancaster Connects. It's the four walls with which we sit in right now, and Gardner's can help you wake up happy every morning. So we like to give back, but our guests have to spin the wheel to make that happen. So you've been prepped. You know what to do.
Spin that wheel.
Wow. Oh my gosh. That was so good. Well done. Well done. I mean, that was like perfectly in sync. What do we got here?
Ooh, free delivery.
Free delivery. Hey, that's good. That saves $149.
Nice.
Delivery and service locally within Lancaster County. We deliver mattresses. We remove old mattresses. We help move a mattress from one bedroom to the other if need be. Typically, that's $149 right here in Lancaster County. But for this week, if you come into Gardner's, mention that you saw our guests spin that wheel on Lancaster Connects, you'll get your delivery for free. Your new mattress. So yeah, good wheel spin. I mean, $149. That's a pretty good savings. I think that's the highest dollar value on the wheel. So you did well.
We did well, Amy.
You did well. Nice work. Nice work. We've got a lot to talk about, so we're just going to jump right in. I think we'll start here. Jeff, you've been with Lancaster Farmland Trust for 25 years, I believe you told me.
I have been. Yeah. March of 2000 is when I started with
the
organization.
That's awesome. I started here at Gardner's in September of 2000. So 26 years, that's a long time.
Hence why we're both great.
Yeah. Yep. There's a lot more. I think there's more now. Like Amy, you asked pre-show, like how long we've been doing the show. It's 5 years. Early shows, they don't show as much gray. That's not the show's fault, but there's kids, there's work. Yeah. There's a lot of things that contribute to it, but yeah. So yeah, let's talk a little bit about how Lancaster Farmland Trust got its start, like its roots, why it started, why it exists, and then talk a little bit about your history with the organization.
Yeah, sure. So the organization got started in the late 80s. 1988 is really when it launched, and it was really a sister peer organization to the Lancaster County Ag Preserve Board, which exists today, which is a government-sponsored program at the state and at the county level. So the pioneers of the movement, which was Amos Funk and Marilyn Ware, really started the movement. And Lancaster County had the first farmland preservation program in the state.
Really?
Yeah.
Lancaster County seems to be at the forefront of a lot of those things.
So we certainly are.
We talked to a lot of different charities, nonprofits, and organizations, and a lot of things seem to happen here before they happen around us. That's cool.
They do. Yeah. I mean, we're leaders in that regard. So
Yeah.
It's great. But yes, program got started here, but it was widely recognized in those early years that if we were going to be successful with farmland preservation in Lancaster County, having a non-governmental alternative for any farmers who didn't want to work with a government program. So think about all of our Plain community members.
Is that Amos Funk there?
That's
there he
Amos.
So that's the guy that started it?
That's the guy that started
Very
it.
cool.
Yeah. That was one of the primary reasons why we got started. So,
Yeah.
Today, 85% of our work is with members of the Plain community. So
okay.
Amish, conservative Mennonite, farmers. Obviously, we work with anyone, but that was one of the motivating factors for the organization to be established in the late 80s.
Yeah.
So,
And your involvement, you said 25 years. How did you get involved? How did that opportunity come up for you? Or like what led you to being in this position?
Yeah. Well, I'm born and raised Lancaster County.
Okay.
So I grew up down in Holtwood in the River Hills.
Yep.
And as a kid, I mean, if you're familiar with Holtwood and the River Hills, like if you live down there, it's like you can't even see your nearest neighbor.
Right. It's a lot of farmland and
a lot of
woodland.
farmland. Yeah.
Yeah.
So friends of my parents were pretty much all farmers. So I spent a lot of time on farms. Both of my parents grew up in the Quarryville area, and then my dad was really raised on about a 30-acre farmette south of the Buck.
Okay.
That my grandmother owned. And when I was a, like 13, 14-year-old kid and kept bugging my parents about, I want to get a job, those sort of things. We approached the local dairy farmer that was running my grandmother's property. If he needed any help, and he looked at me and he said, well, we'll give you a try. So that was the start of my agricultural experience. I think he thought I probably would be gone in a week or two.
Right. This kid's never will make it.
Right. Fast forward about 7 years, all through middle school, high school, first few years in college, I worked on a dairy farm, which is really where I got my appreciation for agriculture.
Yep.
I always like to tell people, I think like every young person should have to be in the top of a hay mow in the middle of August stacking hay, just to have that experience. Because if nothing else, it builds character.
Sure.
And a lot of dirt and dust all over you.
Yeah, it builds the value of hard work. What that means.
It really demonstrated, and seeing the struggles and challenges that farmers go through, and just their commitment, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. I mean, it's just really remarkable.
Yeah, that's cool. Thanks for sharing. More from you in just a bit.
Yeah.
Amy.
I did not spend any time on a farm.
You did not. All right.
If that's what you were going to ask.
Yeah, no. Well, I'd like to know how you got involved and, what led you to be involved with Lancaster Farmland Trust. And you shared with me pre-show that you're a transplant into Lancaster. So
correct.
A little different experience than Jeff had growing up. So yeah, maybe tell us a little bit about yourself. And
yeah, absolutely. I grew up in the Philadelphia area, and my husband and I moved out here, like a lot of people have, about 11 years ago with our young kids. And yeah, as I said, never spent any time on a farm, but quickly was sort of awestruck, and I would say probably humbled maybe by the farmland out here. Got into cycling a little bit, and really enjoyed my rides, and then also probably like a lot of transplants, tried my hand at gardening.
Right.
Which
just a few seeds, just some dirt.
What's so hard about this? And also very humbling, to say the least. And so, when you're doing that and then you go up the street to your local farm market, you've worked all summer to produce that one broccoli.
Yep. One. That's
one
true.
Broccoli.
That's true.
And you go up the street, and the stuff that the farmers are doing is it's just wild and awesome. And, so it was really humbling. So I just really knew that I appreciated what was happening around us. And I think I really understood, how hard farming is, and, the generational work that goes into the land, particularly here. So that's sort of why I knew I wanted to land in that workspace. And then when I found Lancaster Farmland Trust, it's an organization that It's like super mature,
Mhm.
incredible base of loyal donors, and a really awesome staff to work with. So
That's awesome.
That was pretty easy.
That's
part was
awesome.
easy.
And what is your specific role with
I am.
Farmland Trust?
My title is VP of Strategic Priorities, which is a mouthful, I know, but essentially I'm doing sort of running the development, communications, and community engagement team.
That's cool.
We joke around, our team makes the money and the other team spends the money.
That's a good way to put it. Good way to put it. That's awesome. So let's dig into what Lancaster Farmland Trust does. Like you said, 85% of your client base or customer base is the Plain community. Like, what do you do for them? And who are the other 15%?
Yeah. So I would say the concept of farmland preservation is a little nebulous for people. I mean, we used to always joke around in the early days. It's like, well, we're not sticking a farm in a can. We're not preserving it that way.
Right.
But essentially, the basis is we work with families that have this deep commitment to the land.
Mhm.
Either it's been in their family for generations or whatever the case might be, but they have this strong commitment that they want to make sure that farm never becomes anything else than a farm.
Yeah.
And that's what we do. So we work with landowners. It's a voluntary basis where they're choosing to place restrictions on their property that ensures that their farm stays open and available for agriculture and doesn't become a housing development, shopping center, warehouse, data center,
Right.
Whatever the case might be. So, it is the very basic form. That's what we do. There's a lot of excitement, and rightfully so, in the community when we preserve a farm. Our donors get really excited about that, but our obligation and responsibility really starts after the fact. So we take on this perpetual responsibility to monitor, steward, and enforce the preservation of that farm, which you think, in perpetuity is forever. It's like, that's a long time. I don't know how long forever is, right?
Right.
So it's a big obligation that the organization takes on.
So help me think it through. Most of these farms are passed down from generation to generation, right? So this is a farmer maybe now deciding to preserve their farm. So as it passes to the next generation and the next generation, it can't be sold. Right. What happens if the property?
Well, it can be sold.
I was just kind of what happens if the
Can't be
property
developed.
sold? It can't be developed.
Right.
If it has this preservation as determined by the landowner.
Correct.
Currently.
Okay.
Yeah, that's one of the bigger misconceptions about what farmland preservation is, which makes sense. A lot of land trusts will purchase property to essentially preserve it and own it in fee. But we don't do that at Lancaster Farmland Trust. We place an easement on the property, which essentially removes certain rights, mostly to develop it into anything other than agriculture. But the ownership remains with the farmer, and they can sell that property. Now that easement is going to run with the deed of the farm. So
gotcha.
A preserve farmer is selling a preserve farm, but it can change ownership. It certainly does. Often, we've been around. We have easements that are 35 years old, so certainly those have changed hands.
How many acres? I guess you would measure it in acres. How many acres of farmland is preserved in Lancaster County? Do you know that number?
We do. You know it well.
I'm sure you know.
Yeah. We like to shout it from the rooftops.
Yeah.
Lancaster Farmland Trust, we've preserved 619 farms to date.
Wow.
It's 38,300 and some
acres. Wow.
As our organization, if you then combine our work, look at that.
Is that map? So there's a map on the screen. If for those that are just listening, there's a map on the screen showing dark green spots with lighter green splotches around it. Those are all preserved farms.
Yes, all the little triangles are preserved farms. The lighter green area is the agricultural zone land.
Okay, gotcha.
In the county. So,
gotcha.
And our team is always on top of it, so we're current in terms of what's like.
Good stuff, communications team.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Yeah, shout out communications team.
Yeah.
So that's a lot of land.
Yeah, and that's just our work alone. So previously referenced the Lancaster County Agricultural Preserve Board. So collectively between the two organizations, it's over 125,000 acres preserved, over 1,600 farms. So just to put that into some relative terms, it's about 32% of all the ag zone farmland in the county. And about 34% of all the farms. In the county.
Yeah. So are you helping landowners, farm owners make these decisions? Like think through what these decisions mean, and like, or do they come to you for advice, or are you reaching out to them? Like, how does the process work?
Yeah, I mean, I would say farmers come to us through different.
Right.
I mean, obviously, as you can see through our marketing team and
Yep.
and those sort of things. We do outreach. We go to farmer specific events, things like that. But the movement's been around for 40 years, so
Yep.
farmers generally have some awareness of farmland preservation. They might not understand all the details of it or the nuances between our program and the Ag Preserve Board, as an example. But they're coming in, approaching us. I would say most of the time when landowners are approaching us, more often than not, this is something that they have been contemplating for years, potentially even decades.
Yeah.
And they've already had a conversation with the family about this decision. So, a lot of times we're experiencing farmers when they're reaching out, they're ready to go. They've made this decision. We're going to preserve this farm. Obviously, we do have landowners that just reach out and, well, can you tell me more about it? And,
Right.
and in my experience, we're working with farmers and farm families now that reached out, and I had conversations with 15 years ago. And it's just now the timing is right based on their own personal circumstances.
Right.
So,
Right.
It's probably important to note here too, sorry to interrupt, Jeff, that we both, LFT and the Ag Preserve Board, have waiting lists for farmers
Oh, okay.
that want to preserve. Really, the limiting factor is funding.
Okay. So
Yeah, so it's, I mean, we
that-
obviously are still doing
connects the
outreach
dots,
to
yeah.
farmers, and people come to us through different ways, but we have a wait list of farms ready to preserve.
So what are the costs involved to preserve a farm? To put that easement
Yeah.
on it? I have no concept.
So for LFT, we will pay up to a maximum of $2,000 per acre.
Okay. Okay.
And that number is decided based on an evaluation and ranking system that we have in place at LFT. The Agricultural Preserve Board does it a little differently. They do it based on appraisal value, and they will pay a maximum of $4,000 an acre. It should be noted that farms appraise for much higher than that. So a farmer that is taking a payment of $2,000 per acre is giving up a lot of value in potential, when they give up those development rights. So
Right.
there's definitely a sacrifice there, which is why we always talk about how farmers are, it's not necessarily a monetary decision all the time. They're giving something up. It's something they're really committed and want to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then, of course, outside of the easement, there's the due diligence that our organization has to do to make sure that, this is the right farm, and we get all of our, T's crossed and our I's dotted.
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, it's a real estate transaction.
Okay. Right.
So,
right.
If you've bought and sold property, it's title work, it's surveys around the property,
Yep.
it's the appraisal, it's, so in its simplest form, it's a real estate transaction.
Yep.
But just to note what Amy mentioned, on average, we're paying about 35% of what the development rights are actually worth
Okay.
on that farm. So, we can't emphasize enough just the commitment that these farm families have, and they're sacrificing on average 65% of value
Yeah.
of the development.
Yeah.
rights
What they can get on the open market, right?
yeah, I mean, it's really remarkable. I mean, it's just really remarkable that they're willing to make this perpetual commitment to ensure that farm stays as a farm, and doing it for pennies on the dollar.
Right.
When it really comes down to it, and preserving, the most productive non-irrigated soil in the entire United States. I mean,
100%. Yeah.
when you think about that, it's just like, wow.
Yeah.
Like, it's amazing.
And
Yeah.
that's a lot of what's cool about it's not just for everybody. It's like something about this farmland here.
Yeah.
It's like really special and worth preserving. The soils, the work, I mean, and the fact that it's not irrigated, makes this farmland in particular. It makes the, Amos Funk and the people that started the organization, they were quite visionary.
Yeah.
Actually, like you're thinking in the late 80s, development was not what was happening
true, yeah.
here.
Yeah.
But they understood what, Lancaster could be and what it was become. And, people were going to want to come here. And of course I did.
Yeah.
Like a lot of us did.
Yeah. I did too.
And so it was pretty visionary, I think, to set this program up, and start getting farmers on board at that point. And it's really cool that we can now say that we're the number one, land trust in the country for,
That's amazing.
county in the country for farmland preservation. It's really awesome.
That's amazing. So you mentioned, and I've always thought of it only in residential terms, like farmer selling a farm, developer comes in, builds 100 homes, 50 homes, whatever it is, townhomes. turns it into a residential community. But something that's been huge in the news recently are data centers. Data centers, they want to pop up everywhere. And I know there's a lot of conversation and complication for communities related to data centers. And you actually just had a story go viral recently related to a farmer that preserved their farm.
We did.
Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Yeah. So this is, most people think, Lancaster Farmland Trust, like you only work in Lancaster County.
Okay. Yep.
And while 98% of our work is within Lancaster County, we do have some preserve farms outside of the county.
Okay.
And we are the land trust partner with a township called Silver Spring Township in Cumberland County.
Okay. Cumberland County is more like Harrisburg area.
Just west of Harrisburg.
Okay.
Essentially.
Yep.
Mechanicsburg area.
Perfect.
West of there. And before we get into the story there, this particular township went through a local voter referendum 10 years ago, where essentially the voters decided to impose a tax on themselves to generate dollars for land conservation, farmland preservation,
that's cool.
Lands preservation.
Yeah.
So community consciously made that decision.
Yeah.
And now they're generating, significant sums of resources on an annual basis.
Yep.
And working, with their farmers out there who want to preserve. And in this particular case, Mervyn Raldenbaugh has 260 acres. Mervyn's 86 years old. He's been a farmer all of his life.
Yep.
His farms are just north of Route 81. So,
prime real estate,
very
right off interstate,
Correct.
very
right in the central part of the state.
Yeah. And Mervyn was approached now multiple times from a data center developer, when I think the offer started at like $4 million, it went to $8 million, it went to $11 million.
Wow.
They ultimately offered him $15 million, in which he said no.
Right.
And he was annoyed.
There he is.
So annoyed with the fact that these data center developers kept coming back.
Right.
That
Like
went-
no is no, right?
That I'm going to do something that's
Gonna make them finally stop calling me.
it's gonna
So
be
what
an
did he do?
exclamation point. So he elected to preserve his farms.
Okay.
And we worked with him through that process because we're the land trust partner.
Okay.
In Silver Spring Township. The township funded that entirely through the open space.
Oh, that's amazing.
referendum.
So the residents basically
The residents.
came together
correct.
in a sense.
Yes.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So Mervyn, in his case, he was able to preserve his 260 acres. Obviously he didn't get $15 million, but he still walked away with $2 million for
Right.
preserving his
Right.
farms, which is really high in our typical projects that we do because of the funding source that's there in Silver Spring. His properties were like keystone properties that
Yeah.
the township wanted to see protected. So, they were able with that funding to compensate him 100% of his appraised value of his development
Mhm.
rights, which was pretty significant,
Yep.
but then also provide an incentive payment to him to motivate him to preserve his
Yeah.
two farms. So, great storyline there. But for a guy who's 86 to give up $15 million,
Yeah.
in his words, he's like, what am I going to do with $15 million?
So there he is. So
Yes.
that was on looks like it's on the Lancaster Farmland Trust. Maybe
we recently
Facebook page
did,
or Instagram page.
Yep, we did another interview with him. I mean, Mervyn's the man. He interviewed with a lot of people, and he seemed to not tire at all by it. He's
That's awesome.
A really passionate guy. His story's awesome. And if you go up to our socials, you'll see a nice new interview with him.
So what happened here? Local newspapers and publications picked this up.
Yeah,
So
we
Lancaster
pitched-
Online, Penn Live,
We
right?
pitched the story originally at Lancaster Farming. They've
Okay.
been a great partner for us. And they picked up the story, and it was one of those crazy experiences where, we honestly had never had this happen to us before. We've had some funny things, some influencer things go, Lancaster
Mini
viral,
viral.
sure,
Yeah,
mini
yeah.
viral. But Lancaster Farming sort of put this out, I think, on a Friday. And then, on Monday, I think, Michaela, who's, part of our communications team, texted me or called me. I can't remember, Slack me. I was like, so Lancaster Farming told us that, they usually get about 1,000 views of a story. And this one's already at 700,000. I was like, what?
Wow. And so this is
Pretty crazy.
like last Monday.
Yeah. No. This happened,
Oh.
yes, sometime in January. I
Okay.
think.
So a couple
Yeah,
months
so
ago.
or February.
Yep.
And our team sort of excited by that, and then
Yeah,
they did the author of that story, I think Dan Sullivan, decided to go out, do a further interview. It got picked up by a couple other outlets. And then actually our team sort of took I don't know how you say this. I'm not sorry, guys. I'm not like a social media person, but
I'm not either. Whatever you're going to say is more
Okay.
intelligent than what I'm going to
they
say
used
about
some
it.
trend that was going on TikTok or Instagram, and they sort of converted the Lancaster farming story into that trend.
Yeah,
and
yeah.
that went, really
Wow.
viral on our own social.
Yeah.
And it was awesome because we had incredible growth in it. Obviously we were getting donations from all over the country.
Yeah,
One of the fun parts was you could see where a story had hit, because I would get, like I get pings when we get donations, and it would be like, a bunch of little ones in Chicago. Like, oh, this story must have hit there.
Oh, yeah.
So that was sort of a fun part. But then also what we were getting incredible engagement on all of our platforms. But unlike sort of our typical funny stuff that goes viral, this was like really mission driven.
Yeah.
This was about the work we do. And people were asking great questions. And our team did an incredible job sort of trying to keep up with the comments and answer all those questions. A lot of misconceptions people don't really understand about preservation.
Okay.
We were able to address. And so, it was a really cool experience. I can't say enough how grateful we are for Mervyn, because he was a trooper and really, he's the story. I mean, he is, the work is important, but you can see how passionate he is about his farm. And that's what we're doing here. We're trying to help farmers, realize that dream that they have for their farm. So, it was a really cool experience.
What are people across the country? Some people have heard of Lancaster. Most people probably haven't. Maybe people have heard Amish, right?
Yeah.
But what were people connecting with related to that story? Was it, preserving the farmland? Was it, negative towards data centers? Like what were people?
I mean,
like,
definitely
why?
the data center thing is a trigger, certainly. And I think that's what helped the story, go from sort of small to big. But people just loved the idea that the farmer was willing to sacrifice so much, and understand the importance of their land. I think Lancaster, again, sort of being visionary, starting these programs, have done a great job in sort of talking, dealing with growth and in responsible ways. That's not what's happened in other communities.
Right.
So I think we were getting a lot of responses from communities that have experienced incredible sprawl and incredible development, and where there's only one farm left in the whole community.
Right.
And so I think that was what was really sort of engaging about the story and got people really passionate about our work. And also we were able, for those people around the country, obviously you can donate, but you can't really get involved here. We were able to turn those people to their own local land trusts and supporting the farm preservations that are happening in their local areas.
So you have connections with people all over the country.
Yeah, we have a large land trust community. We're part of the Land Trust Alliance, which is a national organization that supports land trusts. So
that's so cool. So like one story helps everybody, like raises all ships, right?
It was great.
Yeah,
that's so cool.
It was a fun experience. Although my communications team is tired.
I'm sure. Take a week off.
Yes. Hey. No.
So I guess I have more questions about how the process works. So like after the farm is preserved, and maybe the farmer does want to sell the property, or now the kids take it over, and maybe that farmer passes away, like what does the next generation do with that farm? Like, I mean, maybe they continue farming it, but what if they don't want it to be a farm anymore? Like what is?
Yeah, I mean, when somebody makes that decision to preserve their farm, they're making the decision for themselves and any future owners of that property.
Okay, right.
That it will be open and available for agricultural use.
Okay.
So, obviously I don't know other parts of the country if it's like this, but in Lancaster, the demand for agricultural land by farmers is so great.
Okay.
That, we just had a farm last Friday that, was sold at public auction, and there was multiple people bidding on it. That you don't find land just sitting idle in Lancaster County.
Right.
Because farmers are in heavy demand for agricultural land. Because we do get that question, like, what if nobody wants to farm it?
Yeah.
Right.
Sort of idea. I mean, maybe at some point in the future that may happen, but at least now and in the
There's
foreseeable
such a
future.
demand.
There's such a demand.
Yeah.
And even if you think out like 50, 75 years from now, I don't know, everything's being grown vertical and maybe we don't need as much land. Like, is it all that bad that we would have that much open space?
Right.
It's allowing for
Right.
rainwater to infiltrate, for groundwater. It's like we all like to have a clean glass of water. Well, it's got to come from somewhere.
Yep.
So even if, maybe it doesn't, maybe it's not farmland in the future, it's still contributing to our community.
Yeah.
It's still a
Yeah.
valuable asset.
And just because agriculture is changing doesn't mean we don't need agricultural land here, I would say. I mean, our farms have changed over the last some years. I mean, we are growing more produce now in Lancaster than I think we really ever have. And I think some of that is climate related.
Mhm.
We talk to farmers who believe that, Lancaster is going to be producing all the strawberries for the East Coast, in the next 20 years. Well, because, other areas of the country are really struggling with water and drought. And so they're not
Wow.
going to be able to do the type of produce
That's
that we'll be
amazing.
able to do in Lancaster. And of course, we're like perfectly positioned
Yeah.
between a lot of the nation's population. So
I had no idea that was the case with strawberries.
yeah, I mean, that's one example of many.
Yeah,
It's just farmers are super entrepreneurial and they are figuring out ways to do value added products. And so even as agriculture has changed, they are making use of the land. So it's great that it's available. I would also say, when we're talking about, we've had easements for a long time and we've certainly had easements pass, and get sold to new people. And that those new farmers didn't get the benefit of the preservation.
Right.
So like one really important part of our
Gotcha.
work that we've been working on a lot lately is adding a conservation piece to the work. And it's both great for our water quality here in Lancaster. So when I talk about conservation, we talk about adding best management practices to farms to help them clean up the water. So that's one part of it, but it's also a service we can provide to our preserve
Right.
farmers who weren't the original owners of the easement.
Gotcha. So to somebody listening and watching who's not a farmer, it's probably most people that are listening and watching. What does this mean for them? The average Lancaster County resident to have this farmland preserved in this way? Most people might be thinking, oh, okay, so there's another development. There's a few more people on the roads. No big deal.
Yeah.
What does preserving this farmland mean for the average Lancaster person?
Yeah, which is a great question, because if you think about like agriculture and food production, like 2% of our society is really associated with agriculture food production. So that means 98% of us aren't connected with it whatsoever.
Right.
But yet 3 times a day we expect to have food on the plate in front of us,
Right.
right? So what we like to try and articulate is, you might not be directly involved with agriculture, but maybe you'd like to jump on your bike on a Saturday morning and go for a bike ride through, rural, Lancaster County. Well, if the farm fields weren't there, if there was something else, it probably doesn't provide the same experience for you. Or maybe you taking your kids to Fox Meadows for ice cream
Sure.
on a Saturday afternoon.
Sure.
Well, there's a farm behind that creamery, and actually a preserve farm behind that creamery.
Yeah.
That's supporting that. And so when you look at it from that context, you can start to apply a lot of different sort of filters to that. You look at restaurants down in Lancaster City, many of them are sourcing locally.
Right.
They're sourcing from local farms.
Right.
And if those farms go away, so goes that experience
right.
that we all have.
Right.
And I think that's really the big thing for us living in Lancaster County. It's so unique that we have just this, robust agricultural industry and this accessibility to just locally grown, really high, nutritious food.
Right.
That other places just don't have.
Right. Amy, you could probably share growing up in Philadelphia area, right? Like the farmland there is not what it is out here. I got to think the costs are higher and the availability of fresh produce is.
Yeah, like a lot of, I think, both like New England and Mid-Atlantic metropolitan areas, there's that one farm and that one farm market. So yeah, coming out here, I think it's both the robust farmland, but it's the mix of that with the vibrant city of Lancaster. That's really something, there's something to that certainly attracted our family here. Yeah. And also the way that farmland balances our growth. you know, and figuring out the right, you know, way to build with density and figure out how we can get more housing here, but also, you know, protect the land.
Yeah, that was the question I was going to ask. So, you know, for the Lancaster community to grow, for any community to grow,
Mhm.
to have to develop it, to attract more people here, and what does that look like? What are, I don't know the right way to say it, but like what's the right way
There's some
to
natural-
develop
sure.
land?
Yeah. No, we get questioned about that all the time. And we're not an anti-growth organization, you
right.
know, but we're strong advocates of, you know, growing in a responsible manner.
Right.
Which
Responsible. That's the word I was looking
Yeah.
for. What's the
Managed growth.
responsible way to
it's-
grow a community?
right. You know, when we're blessed with these rich natural resources that we have here in Lancaster County, it would seem foolish just to continue to pave over it, right?
Right.
Especially as Amy noted, you know, our proximity to major metropolitan areas, you know, the yield productions, all these sort of things that contribute to it. So when you think about it, like, well, how do you develop smartly? Well, you do higher density, you know, you consume less land, you go up instead of out, you know, you build where your existing infrastructure is. And, you know, and we you know, are strong advocates of smart growth measures. Many of us on the team are involved either at the local level or at the county level in terms of land use planning issues to really try and help drive that strategy and direction. But there's certainly a balance to be reached there.
Right. Right.
Which can be difficult because I served on my township's planning commission for 12 years, and, you know, people would come out in opposition to high density when it was adjacent to, you know, their particular piece of property.
Mhm.
And I get it, but at the same regards, if we're really going to protect what we all love and cherish about Lancaster County,
Right.
you know, those are the actions that we have to take.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I would encourage people, if they are really passionate about this issue and want to get engaged, you really need to get engaged at the early, you know, time periods during when zoning is getting changed and getting involved at that level at your township. You know, unfortunately, a lot of the calls we get at the office are when bulldozers are out there,
That's too late.
and it's too late.
Yeah.
And, you know, obviously, and I understand that a lot of the farms that people drive by every day are those ones that are very close to the urban growth area. They're the ones they love and they fall,
Right.
you know, they fall in love with. But yeah, you really have to be in a little bit earlier to really pay attention to the zoning and what's happening there, and make sure your voice is heard on you know, how you want that managed growth to happen.
I'm glad you brought that up with the community and taking action. So what are some things that the community, Lancaster community, can do to both educate themselves on what you're doing, educate themselves on this process of preserving farms, and then, of course, how can they support your organization? What are some things that the Lancaster community can do?
Yeah, well, they can certainly visit our website, and there's
Yeah.
lots of great information on our website, you know, and at a local level, you know, advocating to their local elected officials about good land use policy and that farmland preservation is important. You know, something that we've been starting to explore a bit more is there's not a lot of municipalities that actually support farmland preservation in a financial sense. There's about a handful across our 60 municipalities that
So
actually.
That's kind of like what you were saying, that community up in
Yes,
Silver
correct.
Spring did. The community
Yes.
came together and said, hey, we want to give some of our tax money to
Right.
this.
Right. And, you know, we've done public opinion polls in the past, and every time we do one, you know, it's 90% and above is very supportive or somewhat supportive of farmland preservation, or very concerned or somewhat concerned about the loss of farmland.
Yeah, right.
So it's widely supported in terms of, you know, farmland preservation. And if we want to continue to preserve farmland at a meaningful pace in Lancaster County, because land values are rising, we have to generate more revenue in more sizable ways. And an open space referendum is certainly one way that we can do that. So that's an issue, you know, that we've been.
Any municipal leaders out there,
Yeah.
10 out of 10 would recommend open space referendums.
There we go.
On an individual level, obviously, you can. The easiest and simple way to support us is to donate.
Sure.
Obviously, we're an organization that does a lot of work based on private individual donations, which we're extremely grateful for. And you can do that through our website. You can join a monthly giving program, which we call the Coop, which is a fun
Cool.
program to be involved in. And then, we also have opportunities to volunteer if that's more up your alley.
What are some ways people can
Yeah,
volunteer?
one of our favorite volunteer programs we call our Farm to Pantry program. So this is an opportunity when farmers have stuff left on the field that they are not going to harvest. Oftentimes it's because it's, like slightly ugly, I guess would be,
Sure.
The word for it, but perfectly good. We will have volunteers go out and harvest it themselves. And then we will donate that to like places like the Lancaster County Food Hub.
Yep.
And other organizations that are helping the community with food insecurity.
Yep.
So that's one way. That is the type of volunteer program that you got to be like kind of locked and loaded. Like it happens. We get a call from a farmer that day, and they're like, "We're doing this tomorrow," and the texts go out, and so that's sort of fun about it. If you're into that kind of volunteering.
What's that?
You got to mobilize.
Yeah, you got to mobilize quickly for that one. But some people like that. And then obviously we have some more traditional volunteer programs. You can certainly, help us at events. That's a huge need for us. We want to be out in the community tabling and getting our message out. But staff is limited and staff time is limited. So anytime we can have ambassadors out there tabling for us, we appreciate it.
Yep.
And then if you're a business, we have a very robust corporate support program. Okay. Which can be everything from sponsoring events to doing co-branding to doing employee matching programs. It sort of runs the gamut. We're a small enough shop that, we can meet with you individually as a corporate sponsor and figure out how your priorities match our priorities and create a pretty catered program to make sure we both get the benefits that we're looking for. So
that's awesome.
That's awesome. Ways to support us there.
So you mentioned a couple times events. Chris was scrolling through the events on the screen. Mm-hmm. I know one of the events we talked about pre-show was the Rhubarb Festival, and there's a number of other events coming up. Can you talk us through some of the things you've got coming up that the community can get involved in?
Absolutely.
That looks phenomenal.
The Rhubarb Festival is awesome. This year it's happening on May 15th and May 16th. That's a Friday and a Saturday. Okay. It's at Kitchen Kettle Village every year. Kitchen Kettle Village has been just an incredible sponsor, incredible supporters for years. It's Kitchen Kettle Village obviously sits amongst farmland, much of it preserved in the viewscape there, and it's really a celebration of the start of the official harvest season in Lancaster, because rhubarb and asparagus are some of the first things that come up here in Lancaster. Okay. And so there's a great baking contest, and then all of those desserts are cut up into small pieces and sold, and all the proceeds go to us. So you can try rhubarb in all of its variations. And then we also always actually just have straight up rhubarb there from a preserve farm, which you can try. And it's always funny because there's a lot of visitors through Kitchen Kettle Village, and many of them have never tried rhubarb before. Yeah. And it's a bit of an acquired taste. Some people really love it. I was telling you before the show, an older woman once, I made a cheeky comment about the taste of rhubarb, and an older woman told me, well, 70 years ago, when
back in my day,
when it was the first thing that I hadn't had out of a can, it was pretty delicious. And so, she put me in my place. I hear that.
That's an interesting perspective. Yeah. I mean, a very real perspective.
Very real.
Yeah.
That one's a great one. It's a real celebration. And again, so grateful to Kitchen Kettle Village. They give us all the proceeds from that event. And,
that's cool. And do you have an annual dinner or gala? Or
yep, we do have an annual dinner. Yep. That's on there. It's in October. That'll be at the farm at Eagles Ridge this year.
Oh, okay. Stuart Herr.
Yeah, Stu Herr, preserve farmer.
Yeah. We know Stu. Stu is a mattress guy.
Oh, thank you. So that's always a really beautiful event. We preserve a farm that evening, which is a lot of fun.
That's cool.
And sort of do a couple different celebrations. So if you want to go to a sooner event that directly supports us, you can check out our breakfast on the farm, which is May 30th. These are really cool, sort of like low cost entry events where you basically get to go out on a farm that we've preserved, have a lovely breakfast on a Saturday morning, meet the farmers, learn about the history of the farm, get a tour.
That's cool.
It's a great 2 hours on a Saturday morning.
Would that be something that's cool to do with kids?
Oh, it's great for kids.
I figured they would love the farm, the animals, probably, they've only seen farms in books or from
that's the point of it. We try to get people. I mean, one of the challenges of our work is that, as we talked about already, we don't own any of these properties. Right. So anytime we try to get community members onto a farm, we are going onto someone's private property that they usually live on. So it's sort of like inviting the community into your home. So that, presents its own challenges. So the Breakfast on the Farm is a great opportunity to get out on an actual farm. This year it's at the Hershey Farm. Larry and Bonnie Hershey are awesome Lancastrians. It's a farm up in Mannheim.
Okay. Yep.
And they are, they're really lovely. I can tell you. Do you want me to tell you a little about the Hershey's?
Well, I'd like to hear it. Yes.
Well, Larry's an interesting story because obviously they've had this farm for a long time. They've worked it, but he also, like a lot of farmers, does some other work off farm. He had been considering preserving, as Jeff had mentioned. A lot of these farmers think about it for a long time. And he actually happened to be doing some excavating work at a farm that he knew very well. So a development was going in. And he was on an excavator digging up that soil. Oh. And it really like hurt him.
Yeah.
Because he knew how many years had gone into the working of that soil. And it was that sort of moment that really got him over the line. And he said, you know what? I don't want that to happen to my farm. So he called us and we got that done right at the end of 2024.
That's awesome.
And Bonnie is just as cool. She sort of has the same heart. And she... and
Bonnie was thrilled that he made that decision.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think
Bonnie was probably.
Bonnie had already made that decision.
Well, I'll tell you about Bonnie. She has a plaque in her kitchen, which she's happy to show you, which says something. I'm going to butcher this, but basically it says, we will be, viewed as a society not just based on what we create, but also what we choose not to destroy.
Yeah.
Which is. Try to not get emotional when you say that. Like she believes that to her core, and a lot of our farmers. That is a really representative story about how a lot of our farmers feel about their land.
Yeah.
So that's a good one.
If you can
get out to the Hershey Farm, they'll show you a good time.
And that's May 30th, I think you said.
Correct,
30th.
May 30th.
Yeah, and all that information is on the Lancaster Farmland Trust website.
Absolutely.
What is the web address there?
It's lancasterfarmlandtrust.org, and if you want to go right to the events page, it's /events.
Perfect. I just looked at the time. I can't believe we're like 10 minutes from the top of the hour. It feels like 15 minutes. There's so many things we could talk about. One of the things I did want to touch on though, and Amy, I think you hinted on it, like with the overflow food or what did you call that, where volunteers go out and pick
we call it our farm to pantry program, but a lot of people refer to it as gleaning.
Okay.
Is like the technical term for it.
There's a lot of organizations that you're connected to. You mentioned a couple of the other trusts and, other, community-based organizations that you're part of. But, your name, the Lancaster Farmland Trust, came up in past Lancaster Connect shows with Whittle Farm in Elizabethtown. Pastor Matt was on last summer.
Preserve
Farm. And also Lancaster Food Hub was a guest also last summer. We've had Blessings of Hope on a number of times.
Yep, we've also given food for that program to them.
Yep. So you're the Lancaster Gift Box. I can't forget Gabe Lauver. I probably butchered his name. Sorry, Gabe. Luber. There it is. Don't forget with an L. Lancaster Gift Box mentioned Lancaster Farmland Trust. So you're connected to a lot of other organizations. Can you just talk about that a little bit? How really the Lancaster community supports what you're doing?
Yeah, I mean, I think if we all step back and we think about what makes Lancaster unique, at some part in that conversation, you're going to reference, the agricultural heritage, the landscape that we have here. And I think it really just defines the community that we're in, that we live in. I'm born and raised here. I'm raising my family here. I mean, it's just, there's a quality of life that we experience here that I think you don't experience in other places. And I think our agricultural landscape out there is the foundation of that. So I think it connects. And even, with organizations like, the Economic Development Corporation, EDC, we interact with them. I would say probably outside of Lancaster, you don't see a lot of collaboration between a land trust and the local Economic Development Corporation, right? But yet we find common threads there in terms of collaboration and agreement, in terms of, local land use policies and things like that, which
that's awesome.
I think is unique for Lancaster.
Yeah.
I would comment, two sides of that. The economic side, obviously agriculture plays a huge part in our economic situation here. So, the tourism industry, we have a lot of connections with because it's one of the reasons a lot of people come. People love doing what, Lisa at Kitchen Kettle Village has taught me is called legacy tourism, which is a cool term about when people come visit here, when then they bring their kids here, they want it to look the same.
Yeah.
And that's something that we can have here because of all of our preserve farm.
That's cool.
There's that. There's all the restaurants that we have connections with. And I'll mention just three off the top: Luca, Proof, and Passerine, who've done awesome events for us in the past. They really understand the importance of having local food options. It's why some of them opened restaurants here.
Sure.
And so there's that part. And then the sort of community organization, I do want to give a shout out to our community engagement team, because we have spent a lot of work the last few years and since our last strategic plan, really trying to answer that question: how does our agricultural organization fit in to the larger community and some of our other community benefit organizations? And they've done a great job sort of reaching out and figuring out what those connections are. And so we're happy to be in sort of this CBO community that we have in Lancaster here.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Yeah, it's always a common thread we see on this show, and it's unique to see how organizations are all connected to each other. So you're episode 240, so we've had a lot of opportunities to
A lot of
see, a lot of connections being made there. So, all right, as we look to wrap up our time on Lancaster Farmland Trust, is there anything you'd like to talk about that we haven't talked about? This is your time. Otherwise, we're going to talk about the two of you, and I don't,
I mean, we touched on this. Amy noted it. We have a waiting list. We have 40 farms on a waiting list.
Oh, really? Wow. Yeah.
Interested farm families, and as Amy noted, the only lack there is, it's just resources.
Right.
I mean, land conservation, when you're preserving land, it's not a cheap endeavor to do. It takes real resources to do that. We just think about the time associated with that. It's we don't ever want to see a farm sort of drop off of our list because we couldn't meet what their needs were in terms of timing. So, somebody's out there and has a checkbook that can write a 6-figure check. You got a great organization where you can make it out to.
So, I mean, 40 farms, if you had all the funding available, you could
right now.
That's yeah.
I would also say, like, if we want to leave something for everybody, it's, we have 300,000. We've done a great job. We've gotten to 30% of our ag land preserved, which is amazing and the best in the country. But we still have 300,000 acres that are not preserved. And sort of like, I think how some of these conversations as a community go about how we want to grow is going to, determine what sort of happens to a lot of that land. So, that would be my thought. I hope everyone thinks about that, and if they feel really passionate about the farmland that we have here, that they connect with us in any way that they can.
That's awesome. Well, you heard that, Lancaster. You can play a part in preserving 300,000.
Correct.
40 farms, 300,000 acres.
Oh no, the 300,000 acres is more than 40 farms.
Right.
Our wait list is 40 farms.
Sorry.
I could do I'm not going to do the quick math. Our average farm is about 65 acres. You can all do it out there yourselves.
They can do the math. Anyway, there's a lot of farms to preserve, a lot of farmland that you could help out with. LancasterFarmlandTrust.org, I believe you said, Amy.
Correct.
That's right.
For more information, you can donate on that page. You can learn about the upcoming events. In May coming up here, we've got the rhubarb event and the breakfast
on the farm.
Breakfast on a farm at the Hershey Farm. Hopefully you can make those events and support the organization. I mean, even just doing simple things is like sharing a post, liking a post, following LancasterFarmlandTrust.org, helping out the community benefit organizations that
support us.
That support you. So, Jeff and Amy, this has been great. I didn't really honestly know much about the Lancaster Farmland Trust. I mean, I had a good idea of what you do, but this was great insight to learn more about the process. And just, I feel the passion that, like somebody like Mervyn, what was his last name?
Mervyn
Rodabaugh. Just like feeling his passion for what he's done over his 86 years at his farm, and to know that it's going to be preserved going forward. That's just really, really cool.
It is.
So thank you for helping farmers like Mervyn out. Yeah. All right. We're going to learn a little bit more about Jeff and Amy here. We're going to transition into Connection Cocktail. Just a few questions to get to know each of you a little bit better. Our first question today, Amy, you can go first. Let's say you're on a long drive and you're either you got a choice to listen to music or a podcast or an audiobook. What are you doing?
Well, I have 3 teenagers, so
oh goodness, okay.
There's too much eclectic music in my. I can't do that. We don't all agree on musical choices.
Yeah.
So I'm probably a podcast. Okay. I am we talked about this a little bit before. I'm a huge Sixers fan, and I have a steady diet of rights to Ricky Sanchez. I'll give that a shout out of podcasting.
Yep.
Also a huge Arsenal fan, so I always listen to the weekly
Okay.
Arsenal blog. And actually, I've been recently, like, since I found out about it, I've been just running through Amy Poehler's Good Hang
Oh yeah,
podcast.
she's so funny.
I think, like, I'm a woman of a certain age. That sort of Amy Poehler, Tina Fey,
Yep.
Maya Rudolph group.
Yep.
I just like really enjoyed. I've been
Oh.
tearing through those.
Yeah, they were part of an amazing
Yeah.
SNL cast for sure. Same question for you, Jeff.
Yeah, what I have found myself on long drives, I've sort of gotten into this rut of Minds of a Serial Killer, which
So that's a podcast.
it's a podcast.
That doesn't sound like a band name that I'm familiar with.
No,
Although it could. I mean, it's
which
Something
is
could be bad.
which I find is completely unrelated to anything that I do.
right.
But it's
just
like
engaging.
It's engaging, that mindless, like when you're flying down Route 80 or whatever, and you're tired of whatever, hearing the same song 15 times that day. That's
Okay.
my jam these days.
Very good. I'll have to tune in.
It's interesting.
Sounds good. Sounds good. All right. Jeff, you can go first on this one. If friends had to describe you using one outside of work, using one word, what would it be?
I tried to think about this one a little bit. I would say probably reliable.
Okay. Yep.
I would tend to think my friends look at me that, I'm one person that they can count on.
Yeah.
Like, say I'm going to do something, I'm going to do it.
That makes sense. You're preserving farms, reliable in that way.
Yeah.
Reliable outside of work. That's cool. How about you?
I just want to say this is the most difficult question you've asked us all
What I
day.
should have done is had each of you describe each other.
Maybe.
That's what I should have
This
done.
question makes me a little nauseous. I guess I would hope they would say passionate.
Okay.
I mean,
yeah.
certainly about the things that I'm into. I'm passionate about my family, obviously passionate about preserving farmland. I'm really passionate about the Sixers, about Arsenal. So I think they would say that.
All right. I mean, you've mentioned the Sixers now twice. What is your prediction for? I mean, we're wrapping up the regular season. We got 7 games to go.
I know.
Big game tonight.
It's
I mean,
every
you gotta
year.
lay it out.
Every
What's-
year, I've like kind of put them away, and then they do this thing where they look
pull
good
you in.
again, and
They
they pull
pull
me
you in.
right back in.
Yep.
Um,
Everybody's healthy right now.
everybody's healthy. I think they're going to struggle against any of, in a 7-game series against any of the top teams. I don't think it's this year, but that doesn't mean I'm not going to watch, and I'm not going to watch all 80 games next year. 82.
I feel if they're healthy, they can make a run. They got to be on the court.
Yeah.
We'll see.
I've been waiting a long time. I wasn't born the year they won the last time.
Okay. All right.
So I've been waiting
Yeah,
a long time.
yeah.
And
We don't need to go into the math there. But yeah, it's a very long time.
it's a very long time.
All right. 2 more quick questions. Local business that each of you love supporting and should know about.
For me, it's all of the roadside stands.
Well, that's cool. I like that.
It
Doesn't matter which one. Just
doesn't
drive
matter
past
which
the stand
one,
and-
but there is this little one on my way home from the office. All they sell is pastured eggs. And
Oh,
I've got
yeah.
a little white sign out that says
It's
brown
the egg
eggs.
lady.
The egg lady. I mean, you walk in, you put your money in the thing, you go to the refrigerator, you grab your eggs.
that's the trust-based system. Love it.
Any little stand like that.
Very cool.
And I'll pile on with that. I'm a big user of Harvest Lane Market,
Oh yeah.
which is
Right around the
it
corner.
happens to be right around the corner from where I live.
Okay. We might be neighbors.
Yeah, maybe. And yeah, just super grateful to have so much really good
Yeah.
local food
That is
available to me
That is
really
great.
easily.
Great stand on Oregon Road,
Correct.
Yep.
Right on Oregon
Yep.
Road there.
just east of the airport there.
Looks out right over Preserve Farm.
Yeah, it does. It does. All right. So it's America's 250th birthday this year. Got a big celebration coming up here. What does living in America mean to you? Or what makes America so great? Just something share for our 250th celebration here.
I mean, I think this would probably be in line, but I think it's just, think about our agricultural history and
Yep.
resources and heritage, and think about, it's like agriculture is really the foundation of this country,
Mhm.
and still is, defines when you think about like what we produce and how many people, this country feeds. And I mean, it's pretty remarkable. So
Yep.
when you think about, country being 250 years old, if it wasn't for agriculture, we probably wouldn't have been here for
It's a great point.
250 years.
That's a great point. Amy, same question.
I mean, I think it's I think it's kind of the combination of all the people.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
say that as like the story that I told today, like a kid from Philly who knew nothing about farming and comes and meets all these farmers and is kind of blown away with them. And I meet like people like that all the time, and sort of the interaction of all the people in our cities and the rural areas is really cool. So
love that.
it gives me a lot of hope.
I love that. Awesome. Well, Jeff and Amy, thank you so much for being on and sharing about Lancaster Farmland Trust. Thanks for playing along with our Connection Cocktail questions. Learned a lot about each of you. So did the Lancaster community here. But yeah, thanks for sharing about Lancaster Farmland Trust. It was great to learn more about what you do. I wish you nothing but success generating some more revenue or funding for these farm preservations, which is, like we said, very much needed in this community and beyond. So,
well, thanks.
Thank you so much for having us. It was awesome.
Yeah.
Appreciate
So,
it.
that's just about our show. I don't know what time it is. It's like 3:01. My goodness. I'm going to just do a quick testimonial for Gardner's Mattress and More. Again, Gardner's Mattress and More is the business that Jeff G, not Jeff S, and I co-own together. We help Lancaster wake up happy every morning. And we're over here on Plaza Boulevard behind Park City Mall. Everybody knows where that is. So this is a handwritten testimonial that came in from Dale and Sue, recent customers of ours. They thought their overall experience was great. They will never go anywhere else or recommend anyone else. You are part of our family now. We trust you. And I think that's supposed to be a smiley face. It kind of looks like a frowny,
Stern.
but I don't think it's I think it's more supposed to be a smiley face. But there was a thank you very much and from Sue and Dale there. So thank you, Sue and Dale, for being our customers. Chris is showing our Google review page there, 4.9 rating on Google, and a bunch of kind words from our customers. We're blessed to have amazing customers that take their time to either handwrite a review or go online and say some nice things about it, about us. So again, thank you so much for watching. Thank you, Jeff and Amy from Lancaster Farmland Trust, for being a guest on Lancaster Connects. We'll see you next time, Monday at 2:00. Have a great day.
Comments have exploded through the roof. So there you go.